Here we are.
Welcome, everybody, to In the Buff.
In the buff.
We've got the whole gang here. We got
Cody.
John.
I'm stripping off my clothes. Hold on.
all right,
already
Scott.
sweating.
And already nude Chris.
We've got a good one for you tonight.
Oh
folks.
my god, Cody, you're back!
I am.
You are.
I'm back from Kentucky.
Oh my
What?
Was it a
goodness.
safe rock climbing trip?
It was. Nobody got hurt.
That's good.
Okay.
And we climbed some really tall walls. My buddy
Ooh.
Steve, he climbed a 100-footer.
Is this
Whoa,
a euphemism
hell.
for something?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. We just
Canopy?
went rock climbing.
Okay.
Do you use
Just
You-
YouTube?
Equipment or not?
I don't know why you
Yes.
keep throwing up
Yes.
the air quotes every time you say it.
what's that
Whatever.
called? Free climb?
Free
Free
solo.
solo.
Free
We didn't do any of that.
This isn't 127 hours or whatever
I'm an idiot.
it's called.
Never mind.
Could we get a tally on the comments? I want to respond to the comments.
Sure. Let me see if I can bring that up here.
I'm
Yeah.
a pleb, I don't even look at the comments.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay.
I
Actually,
commented
I
on the
did
last
last
episode just
I
so
saw
that I
that.
could contribute.
Aw. Your presence was
What an
felt.
overachiever.
Who are you when you comment? Who the hell are you?
I'm Bone339.
All right.
I'm gonna have to bleep that.
Why?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Because I'm like, no.
I like the
dox
idea.
Cody.
If we ever do Patreon, I like the idea of having a Discord channel that people could join if they're a certain tier
Yes.
Mhm.
that they could talk to us.
That'd be cool.
I think that'd be pretty neat.
I know a
Question
lot of
for
places
you,
have
Cody.
that.
Yeah.
When you're commenting, if it's on the guide videos, do you comment as double buff?
Yeah.
And just do you just say anything like who this is at the bottom?
Sometimes I do, usually I don't.
Okay, see, that's what I do, is I'll just say oh, Lake's 30, or whoever.
At the-
Mhm.
like
And then
a
sometimes
hyphen,
I'll
like
say,
You'll
Yeah.
put a signature.
yeah,
Yeah.
just because it's a group thing.
We've got a comment from D. Lee Griff. You don't want me to read that one, Chris?
No,
Why
I
not?
want you to read it.
It says, after nearly dying, both Lance and Chris kissed, embracing sensually together, and every word is capitalized. Is it some sort of anagram? And black... EST, and blackest. And blackest. Does that mean anything?
That's an inside joke.
Oh, it is.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Not with us, though.
Yeah, I don't know the joke.
Yeah. You have
Um,
other friends?
Apparently.
I should tell that story.
No.
not tonight. We've got a lot to talk
Okay.
about.
Yeah, we got a lot of talking points.
Monsi throwing out, that's a theory, a fan theory. Thanks for watching.
Oh.
And
Oh, that's
I
good.
think that's copyrighted.
I like that. Is it?
Screw Mad Pat.
and then
Oh, you're right.
colon sausages coming in. If you guys like Skinwalker Ranch, you should check out Mountain Monsters. Also, what is a show that each of you love to hate watch? Catch you guys at your live stream tonight at twitch.tv/lake30.
Who
was that?
And
That was
he-
Colin
that was
Sausages?
Colin Sausages.
And he was there.
He was there. Thank God he was there.
Uh-huh.
Great stream last
Yeah,
night.
thank you for showing up, too. That means a lot, actually.
What do you want to talk about the stream? Do you want to talk
Well,
about...
hold on. Let's answer
Skull and
Cole's
Sausage?
Sausages.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
What's a show you guys love to hate watch?
Show... I know a movie that I love to hate watch.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The Percy Jackson series.
He
Okay.
really does. He really
Okay.
does love
I
it.
also have a YouTuber that I love to hate watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is...
Rad Brad?
Yeah, the Rad Brad.
Brad.
He throws out Let's Play videos like they were still cool back in 2008.
Oh, really?
And he throws that shit out all the time. Dude's got 2 million subscribers or 3 million subscribers.
Hasn't evolved in over a decade.
But he's just a bro. You can tell just at his core basics is just a bro. And he's always super appreciative, super nice, but he's a fucking idiot at puzzle games. And I just remember there was a time that I watched him complete one of the puzzles in Resident Evil 8 Village.
Yep.
And he was just up, down,
John
up, down, click.
was raving at me about how lucky he got with this Resident Evil 8 puzzle.
It made me so mad.
Well, I can understand because you definitely have a bit of a skill in developing puzzles, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
For me, I don't really have a show that I love to hate watch, but I'll say another YouTuber that I've mentioned before, Eric motherfucking Dubé.
Yeah.
I love watching his content and getting just angry about him. Oh, what an asshole! Fuck you, Eric. But I digress. Chris, you love everything.
I do love
You
everything.
do.
But I love watching these Phase 4 Marvel series.
Yeah, honestly, I
And
should have said that.
Then we get to I get to listen to you just rave on and on about how trash they are.
Yeah.
And it's a little endearing to me.
I do genuinely enjoy watching Shulk with my friends, and it's fun to just be like, this sucks.
It was such an interesting twist for me, for you to have us sit down and watch Attack on Titan and be like, this is it. This is the juice. This is the fucking succulent part of the meat. And I'm like, you like things?
I suppose I'll answer now, since I'm the only one that hasn't. I don't really watch a whole lot of TV, so I really don't have anything that I do hate watch. I suppose the closest thing would be I mildly got annoyed at watching was Shulk.
Yeah.
And even then, I feel like I'm, of the four of us, Shulk's biggest proponent. Because, like, it's not good, but it's inoffensive.
It's fine.
It's just something to watch.
It's fine.
It's
Also-
fun. It's fun to laugh at.
Just heads up, guys. We're probably watching the finale and the episode before the finale. What's that called?
Penultimate.
Penultimate. Yes, thank you. We're watching those 2 episodes after this.
After we
recording.
record, he didn't want us to talk about Shulk, but look at where we are now.
Yep, and
it-
here we are.
Guys,
It's Schultz all the way down.
Yeah.
Schultz always getting in my
you're the one
mouth.
who brought it up.
So that's...
I want to change my answer, though.
Yeah?
Hallmark movies.
You love to hate watch those?
Dude,
I hate to love them.
my grandma watches them religiously
My
every
sister
Christmas,
really
right?
watches them too, yeah.
And I love sitting there next to my grandma and just spouting off the Hallmark formula and predicting what's about to happen.
Oh, yeah,
and
no,
she
it's-
just like shakes her head like, Chris, like, come on, okay? Like, it's my shows that I'm like, it's bad, grandma.
No, just let me enjoy this 28-year-old man that's falling in love with a lady for the first time.
You know what? I agree with your grandma. Let her enjoy it. You're an asshole.
You're an asshole.
I know. So we had a session tonight. We took a break. Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
We took a bit of a break from Cody's game because really
Shit
just-
hit the fan.
he needed something. He needed a bit of time
Yeah.
to prepare some
a
shit.
buffer,
Honestly,
if you
yeah.
will.
Shit didn't even hit the fan. Fans hit the shit, dude.
That's a good. That's a good way of saying it. So John, our other DM, he had plenty of stuff prepared. He had a one shot ready to go. So he's like, you know what?
Yep.
I'm going to come up with something. I have a story in my head. Let's go do it. And it's part of his greater campaign. And we did that tonight. And it was spooky and
It was.
awesome.
There was so much dread with a capital D and like cosmic horror vibes to it. Like, I mentioned it to them earlier. Like, at the end of it, I was feeling like sick to my stomach. That might have been the copious amounts of ice cream that I've had to eat today, but I did not feel good going through this campaign, going through this one shot. Which isn't to say that it wasn't appreciated or even maybe not enjoyed be the right word, but it was satisfying.
Yeah.
I'm just
so
proud that we got through a one shot in one session.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like last time, that shit took like 3 fucking weeks to do.
And the ending, we'll like walk through the session, I feel. But the ending was so bleak.
Mhm.
And it's very open ended, and I'm curious as to what
Hopeless.
happened. Yes,
Hopeless is probably the best word I could use to describe it. Let's get there.
let's get it.
So we all
get there.
created one-shot characters.
I was a paladin.
I was a monk, healer.
I was a Harengon, a rabbit man, warlock.
And I was the DM.
And our friend
and our
Justin.
friend was a barbarian dwarf.
And so the premise of the one-shot was a gnome, scholar, adventurer, some sort of, individual had hired us to escort him towards this artifact or this location. He called it a lighthouse that was deep in the ground, in this cave. And so we all gather in this small town close to where we'll be setting off from.
The impetus behind going to this cave as well, this lighthouse, was he said he was missing an arm. And he told us that it had magical healing capabilities or something. And he wanted it to regrow his arm in the magic of this cave or lighthouse or whatever the fuck. And so that he's like, all right, here's some cheesh.
Mhm.
Go do that.
Yep.
We never saw the cheesh.
We
Spoiler
never saw
alert.
the cheesh.
So we all head out from this town, and the first night that we're camping out. By the way, it's really cold. It's like the dead of winter.
Yep.
And the first night we were camping out, when one of us was on watch, they heard like voices in the dark.
What in the hell was that?
What even was it? And so we get out there and it sounds like two people arguing over like payment or like delivering people.
Like, we start hearing the conversation midway through, and we don't have any context for what's going on.
They're throwing out proper nouns that don't make any sense.
Things that are supposed to mean things.
Obviously, these people know what they're talking about. They're talking about moon shards and sun shadows, and like we are completely in the dark. And then later, when Scott's character is on guard or on watch, he goes out into the forest, and there's just like this shadowy figure. Not like they were like cloaked or hooded. It's like they were made of shadows, it seemed like. And it shot an arrow at him, and he like frightened it off, maybe.
Or it just fucked off.
Or it just ran away.
The first hour and a half was not revealing the curtains too much. I'm like, they know what they're supposed to do. They have it laid out in front of them. But I want this to feel like a world.
Yeah.
I want them to feel like there's other things at play here.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of inspiration from you, really, when you were DMing.
Oh, really?
Because because playing your game, I'm like, this feels like a real world.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that.
The
I
clock
want
is
people to
ticking.
have agendas.
The clock is ticking, and there are things going on not directly in front of you.
And I think that's super unique to do in one-shots. Because, like...
It is a one-shot.
It's a one-shot, but... What you guys know what the campaign you guys are walking into when you guys get to my actual campaign. And the last one shot we did was 5 days away from where this one's going to start. This one shot was a day away. Like, you guys are close to where you guys are going to start.
Mm-hmm. So,
luckily, nothing too bad happened that night, though. We woke up and,
just some
everybody
spooky
was rested.
things.
Yeah.
Some spooky things. We were a little off kilter, but otherwise bright-eyed, bushy-tailed going forward.
A lot of shadow monsters, but the first monster was foreshadowing.
Oh my goodness.
Good lord.
So
I hate that I love that.
There you go. Other things that you hate to love.
that's a lot of shadows.
That was a lot of shadows.
4 shadows.
Wow.
So we make it to this, I wouldn't even really call it a cave the way you described it. It was just like this fissure in this cliff wall.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
And like we couldn't even walk straight on through it. We had to like press our way through it sideways, which is already like extremely claustrophobic and disturbing. I don't know if disturbing is the right word, but like frightening. Like just being in confined spaces inside caves is like really terrifying.
Not that he needs the bump, but Internet Historian just did Man and Cave.
I know exactly what
good.
Such a good video.
It was so good.
And that kind of stuff, I'm like, no, thank you. And you just pinpointed that type of claustrophobic fear, being in a tight space and being in the dark. And so,
Also, thank you guys for choosing characters who could not see in the dark.
well, that
Thank
was
you guys
definitely
so
a big.
much for that.
That was definitely a big deal. I know a lot of people just kind of hand wave that in some campaigns, but it was really important in this one.
Eventually, this fissure that we're traveling through starts to widen out, and we make our way to what is essentially a doorway or an entrance. Also, very importantly, before we went into this fissure, just after we woke up, we wanted breakfast. My character's background is a fisherman, so I caught a fish.
Yep.
By the way, before we get to this door, we were traveling for like a long time, and it's like you said, like a mile or something like that, and it's like, how far in are we?
Yeah,
because you can't understand how far you've gone. You know, it's in the middle of it's completely dark.
And remember him saying this, because it's going to be said another couple of times, where the party just travels and travels, and they walk straight
deeper
for like half an hour
and deeper
in game. Like, it continues to happen.
We get to this door, and our employer, Ardell, this gnome, has this monocle, I assume, that can comprehend languages. And he reads something to I can't remember exactly what it said. Actually, do you have your...
Yeah.
Do you have the riddles?
Go get the riddles.
Let me pull them up real fast.
Riddle bitch.
Because this one was about time, and it was about
Like Crash
life.
Bandicoot 4.
Yeah, just like Crash Bandicoot 4. Oh, I'm trying to edit now.
Chris, you look like you're dying. Look at him.
Chris, you want that bang?
Yes.
Go get the bang.
This has been brought to you by Bang Energy. Not really, but you know.
Get some of that Ultra Cock 10 in your mouth.
If they wanna sponsor us, we'd be more than willing.
Absolutely. Think of the droves of audience members you could support. You could, huh?
We've got
Where
Monsi.
is-
We've got
Chris,
colon
open
sausages.
It up. Open it up right in front of the mic.
D-League Riff.
Right in front of the mic.
Rainbow unicorn.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was good.
What was this riddle?
The first riddle that came up, it said, "Turn around, young stranger. Aren't you someone's son? You shouldn't have found this cave. It isn't where you belong. This path will only be opened to the dead. So step aside and let them in instead. If you are still living, still in your prime, don't worry. The cave will take you when it's your time."
And so I immediately got flashbacks to that Daedric artifact quest in Skyrim where you have to go.
Mind just got reblown.
What's up?
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
I immediately got flashbacks to that Daedric artifact quest in Skyrim with the Molag Bal quest, where you're in Markarth and you have to go into this abandoned building with this priest guy or whatever, and it's like a poltergeist going on thing, and it's really spooky and scary, and it's essentially like, I'm only going to let you. This is Molag Bal, the Daedric prince talking. He's like, I'm only going to let somebody leave this house when one of you kills the other.
Yeah.
And so you start talking about, death. The dead are the only ones who are allowed to pass through this. And I'm immediately thinking, is he going to try and make us kill?
Like one by one, there's just the party gets smaller or something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it seemed like all of the gates had to do with sacrifice.
Yep.
And so I'm like, is he just going to make us kill ourselves off to go further and further? And like, you might have been able to play this up a bit more with like Ardell being like extremely bloodthirsty about this and like just assuming that we would kill ourselves so that he could continue. But we kind of got like a very clever and kind of funny way.
Well, so we try to go through the Ardell, the money. He just kind of walks up and touches it. He touches the wall, and it we try to push the wall. He tries to go in, and it just kind of pushes him back. That's kind of how it happens every time. Is this doorway, quote unquote, pushes us back, and so we're like a little bit fuddled. We're like, how do we? Something dead. Only the dead may pass.
I fire a beam at it.
He shoots an eldritch blast at it, and nothing happens.
We hit it with a hammer.
Yeah, and I happen to have caught a fish, as I mentioned before, and I'm like, I mean, we might as well try.
Yeah.
Fish is dead.
I mean, the other alternative, you guys were already starting to mention killing each other.
Yeah. I hold the fish up in front of the door, and the door's like, all right, nice.
Dead.
And so that's like a clever and funny way of passing the gate, but it did plant that seed in my head, like, did it want us to kill one of us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, we just had a dead fish. Oh, haha, haha.
Yeah.
Yep.
But what are we dealing with here? And like that right there started the seeds of like paranoia and fear that is just going to permeate this whole one shot.
So,
I love how our solution to that totally took me out of the fact that, oh, we're going into this deep, dark, dangerous place. It was like, because
it was like a bit of levity.
Yeah.
It was a bit of levity. It was kind of, yeah.
And then it became...
What's so funny is I made such a point to, I'm like, oh, I'm a fisherman. I can catch breakfast.
Yep. And just as a joke.
Yeah.
And for anybody thinking that fish is done with the story,
It's
stay
not.
tuned.
So we head through the dead door, and as we keep traveling, I'm a paladin, and we enter this one entrance, and there's a forking pathway of 3 different ways.
Yep.
And my hackles raise. And paladins can just be like, is there something around me? Is there something spooky and undead around me? And sure enough, there's a couple of undead creatures. And I get their like a beat on them before they get a beat on us.
Yep.
And we prepare for combat. And these like crazy like living shadows.
I think they were like, I think they're called shadows.
Yeah, they were like
shadows or shades or wraiths. Or
I was
something
imagining
like that.
them like being like dementors basically, but like glomming onto the walls and kind of like suctioning to the.
Almost got one of you guys.
Yeah, it almost killed Chris's character.
Yeah.
If
Because they have a strength drain attack.
Yep. And if you didn't, like, when he went down, if you didn't go beat the ever-loving shit out of that one, it was going to go in for the kill. It wasn't going to hold back.
It's a
These
one-shot.
are one-shot characters.
It's
Who
absolutely.
cares?
Exactly.
Sorry, Chris, you don't get to play the rest of the game.
I didn't even get touched.
You didn't.
I didn't even use a single smite as a paladin this whole night.
If Andy had been in this game, there would have been 2 more shadows in that room.
Oh, no. Well, I didn't get hurt either. I did pretty well.
Yeah. You did really well in that.
Even though I just decided I was going to start punching the ghost
Punch
because I'm a
ghosts.
monk.
Why not?
A monk.
Shadowboxing.
So Chris's character goes down. We bring him back up. He goes down again. We bring him back up. We deal with the shadows.
There was a blue light in that room. I wonder what that would have done.
Excuse me?
The blue magical torchlight that Justin snuffed.
Justin rolled a natural 1 when he tried to like kick it out of shadow.
I see.
And he fell on it and snuffed it.
Well, the interesting thing was there was a regular torch in there too that was still burning.
Yeah, who lit that?
Who lit it?
That is really interesting, guys.
So we defeat the shadows and we continue on. And what happened after that?
Chris is racking his brain.
Hit me, I'm open. So, after that,
Great.
they go down a hallway that has running water in it. And as they traverse down the hallway, it gets deeper and deeper. And Ardell, the gnome, the money man, he's not a big kid. He's a gnome. So like by the time he gets waist deep,
and he only has one arm.
And he only has one arm. Yeah. He once he gets waist deep, our paladin boy picks him up and throws him over the shoulder. But our dwarf barbarian is also a short one. And I had fun with that. Just like
some
little
creature under the water,
saves, and there was some little creature under the water, and like it was all just like there's opportunities in here for you guys to really not know anything about what's in there. But the water kept getting deeper and deeper,
and it was freezing cold.
Yes.
I was like the only one who was okay because I'm a Goliath and I was okay.
The dwarf was also somewhat okay because you guys had found a
that's right.
fire breathing potion.
Yep.
Just gonna throw this out there. I only threw that in there because you rolled so high on your perception.
Great.
That was not in there.
Wonderful.
That was not.
It came in super useful.
It came in useful.
Like you said, D&D just writing itself.
It writes itself, man. But eventually, they come to a waterfall and the room opens up. And the waterfall was about a 60-foot drop, and that was their next challenge, was finding their way through it. So you had the monk and you had the strong paladin who worked together so that the monk could get down and get to the next area to tie off the rope.
A series of rope shenaniganry allowed the monk to get down. So then
every player had an opportunity to slide down this rope to make it to safety, starting with the NPC. And the NPC had the best bout of all of them. He made it the furthest. He got about 15 feet away before he smack dabbed right on the shore. And then our herring gun, Chris, he goes and his shovel breaks on him. And he falls like 40 feet into the water.
My hand.
Oh, that's what it was. You cut your hand trying to readjust. That's right. And then our dwarf just had the worst time.
He was like, I'll just use a javelin and use it as like what do you call those?
I don't know, something to slide down a zip line.
Yeah, a thing to use to slide down a zip line. He's like, all right, let's go. And as soon as he put weight on it, it just snaps in half and he falls immediately.
60 feet.
And I didn't roll low. I rolled, it was 60
66.
feet. So
and
I
I
rolled
think
66.
22 damage.
22 damage.
Just
And he just
planning.
pancaked in the water.
And he wasn't all right.
Fell.
No.
And so I'm just like, okay, guys, could you untie the end down there and I'll just like climb down?
Yeah.
And then I just got down real easy and swam to shore.
So we get down there. By the way, another thing is just like it's almost like a subconscious psychological thing. It's like we're now even deeper into.
We were already deep.
We were already deep, and now we're even deeper underground because we're going down this. Thank you for grabbing that. I was looking for it.
Yes.
I'm so
And
curious
to
as
add to
what
that,
he said.
add to what I think he was already going towards this. Was when they got to the waterfall, the cave opened up into this mass expanse, where it was just it's the largest like cave that you can almost even just imagine.
So we continue down our path, and we get to the second gate.
Yep.
I think that was what was it called? The Gate of Sacrifice.
That was the Gate of Sacrifice.
And so describe it a little bit.
So this gate, you had a large like.
We can throw up an image in the podcast.
Okay, sure.
We could, Chris. I could send that to you.
Do that.
So you guys can see on the screen.
Oh my
All right,
God! Jesus
already
Christ!
Pause.
We're okay.
So you guys see, when I was describing it to him, there was this large, like, it was almost like a gate inside of a gate.
Mm-hmm.
And in between this shorter pathway and the overall, like, gate itself was just a bunch of metal, like, spears.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just enough room in that middle gate for you to, like, edge
One
through
person.
it. One person could go through it.
Yep.
And so, our monk, Cody, Dash, went through it first. And he was stuck with one of the spikes.
It like jutted in
And
just as
this
he was getting by.
is where you can go ahead and read the note that I quietly handed him a note and described to everybody what they saw. Everybody else.
Yep. And so this is what my character experienced when this spike enters in and stabs him. And it says, "You cannot move. You cannot speak. You feel your consciousness meld with the gate. A disturbing sensation trickles through your spine as the spike almost seemingly tastes your blood. Another consciousness in your head mumbles, 'You can open the gate to one other soul, but they must pay the tithe. Or you can go in solitary, but it will be you who pays the tribute.' And then it says, 'Covertly reveal the name to me as you cannot speak.'" And so I read that, and I'm on my own.
Yep.
Like, I have to interpret that in my own way without any help or advice or input.
And while he is going through that moment, every other player is seeing the rest of these spears just come in to the point where no one can see his character anymore.
I was thinking he was just getting impaled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was dead.
And so I read that, and I'm like, what does that mean? And so I'm thinking, does that mean, like, it's another, like, I have to pay with my life to get through? Does it mean I have to pay with somebody else's life? Does it mean that only two of us are allowed through the gate? And I'm thinking, I decide it means only two of us can go through this gate. And I have to pick a partner to go through the rest of this dungeon with me. And so I decided to pick Scott's character because he was basically the strongest and he still had the most HP, and probably had the best chance of surviving the mission.
And what's odd is totally apart from that decision, I had no fucking clue about that decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I'm going to rush in as soon as I see, because I'm like, I'm Paladin.
It writes itself.
And with the spikes all going inward, that outer gate was now free for somebody to go through.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as it was free, I'm just like, John, I'm going to rush in. I'm going to rush in and try and save the monk, Dash.
And when he did, he was stuck with one spike that drained his total health.
Yeah.
It reduced his maximum HP.
And that was the true tribute for you guys to be in that blood pact together.
But we managed, after that happened, I had to make a quick save, and like all the spears were coming back to like reset the gate. And so I had to quickly get to the other side, and Dash and I, the monk and I, were
Chris
on the other
is quietly
side.
communicating things to me, and this is the second time he's now done that. Chris, D&D writes itself, man. I have preached this for a long time.
What's so amazing is that I chose Scott's character as my tribute, and he chose to go first.
let's go one step further. The dwarf barbarian, Justin's character, chose to go in as well. He got the exact same note, and then he chose himself as the tribute. So the person gets impaled and takes damage, and then the tribute takes permanent damage.
Yep.
But who went last, guys? Who paid a tribute, and who got in a blood pact together at the end?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Okay, so Ardell decides, all right, we kind of sort of know what's happening now that the barbarian got on the other side. He took the tribute, and we call through the gate. We're like, okay, it needs a sacrifice. The both of you can come. One of you has to take the toll, that kind of thing. So Ardell's like, all right, I'm going to go...
Mondrian.
Mondrian, you're going to take the tithe.
Yeah, Mondrian said, you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was.
And Ardell healed him. Ardell, while me, the DM, was like, I'm gonna fuck these players over a lot. I was like, here's a little guy for you guys to keep going.
Ardell was like basically a potion repository a little bit. He had several healing spells on him, just basic healing spells, but he kept topping people up a little bit.
Yep.
If you guys he also had one combat spell. Also, he had the frighten condition in every fight.
Really?
Oh,
Which is why he didn't want to fight. He was
right.
terrified. But he had spiritual weapon. Was the one
what was it gonna
combat
be?
weapon. It was going to be a runic sword. I actually had a mini that I was going to use for it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Ardell chooses Chris's character as his tribute, and all five of us are through the second gate, the gate of sacrifice.
Would that be the second foreshadow? The second of 4?
8 shadows.
Two of 4 shadows.
Oh my goodness.
And so we get through this tunnel, that is this gate, and again, it opens up into this just colossal cave.
This is the highlight of the night for me.
Oh, yeah. And we see at the
I
far...
was so excited for this.
We see at the far end of the cave this lighthouse.
We see an oscillating beam of light, just like going all around this huge cave. It's silly to even call it a cave at this point. It's just the world, but there's no sky. And in fact, we see what we think are stars, but Ardell explains to us is actually will-o-wisps or whatever he said.
Yeah, will-o-wisps. For those of you who don't know what a will-o-wisp is they attach themselves to dying creatures and kind of drain the last of their life. In game, if you go unconscious, they swarm you and give you death save throws, immediate deaths.
And they're like little balls.
They're
of
little
fire.
balls. I had minis for them too.
Wow.
And between where we are at and the lighthouse are all these different smaller islands across this enormous underground lake with these stone bridges connecting the islands. And so we get as far as we can, and we get to the piece de resistance of the night. It's described to us as a much larger island, but it has these 2 stone towers on either side, and suspended in between the towers is like this. It's like this grid pattern of like stone tablets or stone squares that form some sort of geometric pattern, and there's like spaces in between them, and it's completely abstract to us, and we don't know what it means. But then we see, as we start moving across this island, this like darkness starts to envelop the outside of the perimeter of the island, and it starts encroaching on the land. And my character notices that when the light of the lighthouse passes around, it shines through this stone pattern of these squares suspended between these 2 towers and lights up a path across the island. So there is a path that is
leading to a boat
at the end of the island. So there is an illuminated path, and then there is just shadows everywhere else on the island, and we only get like a glimpse of it. And John made an actual scale model of this, complete with, he would shine his like camera's phone's light through this suspended pattern, revealing the path illuminated on a grid of what do they call that? Like Chessex, like vinyl battle mat.
Yeah.
It had and I was the only one that got to see it
Because he had the, like, so we all rolled to see
I made everybody roll a dexterity check.
basically who has the best reflex capability to be able to, like, catch it, and then, first off, to be fast enough to catch it, and secondly, to have, like, the mental acuity to absorb the information. And yet again, Monk was perfect for this. You were fast and
Ultimately,
you could retain it.
When I sat down and wrote it, I didn't think about who was going to be what characters or anything. I just said, all right, this is going to be the dexterity check they need to make. And then the character who rolls the highest, or out of the characters who make the dexterity check, whoever has the highest wisdom gets whatever their wisdom score is in time, seconds-wise, to see it.
And so I just get like a 4 seconds glimpse of this pattern,
time,
and I just have to remember it and lead the entire party through what I believe to be the path. And if we went into any of the squares on the battle map that weren't illuminated, we were attacked by shadows, and they hit hard, and they also drained our strength. And so it was, and not only that, but we also have a time limit because John pulls out the.
Actually getting naked right now. Guys.
I'm taking off my socks.
Oh my god.
My feet are getting too sweaty and itchy.
It's no longer a bit.
John had an actual hourglass where every time it would run out of sand, the shadows
encroach 10
around
feet.
the island would get smaller. And what I realized was if we don't move fast, we aren't going to be able to make it through.
We run out of space.
We'd run out of space because some of the path was on the near edge of the island. And so we were seconds away, again, writing itself.
Like, little by little, it was so tense. We were like, is this safe? No. This safe? This? Yep. No.
You guys there was a moment where things got bleak because you went right, or you went left a couple of times, and then you went forward, and it was wrong. And you were like, let me go back to space. Go forward. Wrong.
I was wrong. I think I was wrong 3 times in a row.
We thought we had a dead end.
Yeah. And I'm like, this might be it.
And then, like, just right at the end there was a bit of a leap of faith for me. My paladin was super tanky. It was hard to hit him. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to forge ahead, see what I can do. And thankfully, I managed to, yes, no, no. And I saw the end, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stay here and point where people need to run.
Yep. And it was whittling our HP and our strength down too. And it was like, I was like, I have the best chance of getting through this. And so I feel obligated to like surge on ahead, but I keep getting hit. And I'm like, if I keep going, I'm going to die. But if I don't keep going, everybody is going to die.
So like the way it ends is I'm like 10 feet away from the boat.
Just this puzzle. We still got more puzzles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm like 10 feet away from the boat, and I can see a line to get to the boat. Shadows are at my back, basically. And I'm just like, go.
And poor Ardell, he's an old guy with a missing arm. He's just struggling to get along. And like, the DM, I know the safe spaces to go. But Ardell wouldn't know that.
Not at all.
And Ardell's getting older. So I'm like, every time I'm like, Ardell looks to you guys. He doesn't know which way to go. And then like you guys would start to direct him. I'm like, this is so great.
Yeah. And eventually he just wasn't fast enough. His short little gnome legs.
Yeah.
So the rabbit picked him up.
And did a rabbit thing.
The person that I'm with a blood pact with, I picked up and made sure was safe in the boat.
He
Because
used his rabbit leaps.
This fucking road itself.
And again, you were far enough behind where if you ran out of time and we were like grains of sand away,
I was gone.
The shadows would have cut off your path.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been able to continue.
And just so that, I put in a contingency so that it couldn't just be brute force without sheer luck. Like, whenever they would go into a wrong path, or wrong spot, they got pushed back to the previous square. Or the closest safe square.
Okay. So we all make it into the boat.
Right at the end of it.
Surprisingly.
Because...
I
think the most hardcore part about making like delicate puzzles like this is when you don't care if they get turned away.
Yeah.
To add to the story, as soon as they made it to the end, or right when they were near the end, the puzzle itself fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
The blocks crumbled.
And so we had no idea. The lighthouse couldn't pass back over the path. And so we were just blindly following my thoughts. And so we get into the boat.
Oh, I forgot that. Like, John legitimately is like, well, there's a crumbling behind you. And we look, like, I just imagine the characters looking behind, and, like, the whole tower structure with the, like, shadow... I don't know, whatever they are. It's like crumbling and falling on itself, and he brought out a goddamn scissors and he cut the string and it fell apart and he knocked it all over.
Because like it's all about the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is for me. And like it was already super dramatic, but I told you we took a break right before this, right when everybody got through the Gate of Sacrifice. It was a good moment for everybody to rest, so we did our break, let everybody reset some. And we went to go get food. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, DM to DM, we're coming up on the part that I'm most excited about and most nervous for.
So we all get into this boat. And it's like, it reminded me of the underground cave chapter in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, when Dumbledore and Harry are going across the lake to get the Horcrux. And that chapter changes that book from just a fun adventure story to a goddamn horror story.
An eldritch horror.
Yep.
And so we're going across this lake. It's pitch black.
The thing that really got me is imagining how quiet it probably was.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the only noise is the...
Yep.
Was the oars.
Yeah. And to add to that, like, I chose something that just gave cave ambiance noise.
Yeah.
Which was just echoes.
Mm-hmm. The music you picked, the sound and the ambiance and the music was so good at instilling that sense of paranoia and dread that we've been talking about. And all we've got is this one lantern that is basically our only light source. Mm-hmm. And you start telling us that there is like a rippling behind the boat a little ways back. And I look back there with the lantern, and there's just this enormous sea creature in the water following our boat.
But it has like a face.
It has a tuna face.
That's how I described it. Was a tuna face.
And it has like man arms. And its mouth has like these sharp teeth, and it's always agape and big eyes.
It had like these blank stare eyes, and like just like a typical fish, like they weren't staring directly forward; they were coned outward.
And like Cody, you did like a play act, and it was so good of like the monk leaning over the back and he looks down into the water with the lantern, and then he looks at us, and he's just like.
Maybe 2 to an oar.
2 to an oar. 2 to an oar. Let's go, baby.
And then we start going. We're pumping, and then our guide here that hired us is like, it's under the boat.
It's under the boat.
And so I'm just like, all right, I'll bite. I'll look. And I look down, and its mouth is right.
Imagine like a Jaws
under
poster, where it's like directly below, and he's just the rabbit's looking down. Oh man!
You're just looking into this giant glassy eye that's just underneath the surface of the water. Yep. Thankfully, we move fast enough or disturb it.
It just seemed kind of curious.
Exactly.
That's what my favorite thing about it was.
I don't know what its motivation was. I don't know what the trigger was. I don't know.
Oh.
And so
But it was there. It was ready for the trigger, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It's that string,
It wanted us to... It was like, try me, motherfucker.
I'm bigger than
I'd like to see you.
So we just frantically row all the way to this island with the lighthouse attached.
They had like a family van moment where Chris's rabbit was like, I'm gonna Eldritch Blast. And everyone was like,
no.
And he's like, no, the water, because I can push.
Right.
It's absurd to think that would work.
Just grab an oar. Come on.
Again, it was like we didn't know what to do. It's like, do we stop moving? Do we move faster? Mm-hmm. What is going to keep us safe?
And I also added like options. Mm-hmm. There was a close island. Mm-hmm. But then there was a further island that was closer to the lighthouse.
That was our actual destination.
Yeah.
So we opted for the further one, and luckily it seemed to it seemed to let us be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Still curious.
Yeah.
Follow them almost all the way to the shore.
And we got to the shore. We dragged the boat ashore because we still want to get home.
Mm-hmm.
And we dragged the boat ashore, and we're just like, okay, what is happening on this island? And we look around, and there's like a little village
Yeah.
of creatures.
Like these
This
fish-like
is
creatures.
where it gets really Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All we stumble upon a sign. What does the sign say?
Love
Tub team, Lub team Tom
Tub
Cobb.
thumping. Yeah, tub thumping.
Lub team Tom Cobb.
Love Teeb Tom Cobb. Yep.
And it's just nonsense, but it's written in like an Elvish script, which we can understand.
Mhm.
But the word itself is just
It
nothing.
makes
just
no
nonsense.
sense. It's just nonsense.
And so we just see these like fish men, and there's some there's some huts,
Mm-hmm.
and these fishermen are just like meandering around, and we're like,
They just live down here in total darkness.
Yeah. and we're like, okay,
They have the same blind, like, just almost dead eyes that creature did below the
Mhm.
water.
and it's just they're just they're living their lives, and we're just there, interlopers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I opt to be like, hello? And a fish guy sees like, and he runs away. And then like his friend is just like, they're like prepared to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And like we calm them all down. Luckily a monk was here.
I love how foreign it got for you guys, too, because
Yeah.
not only did you not know what they were saying, you didn't even know what the fuck I was saying.
Right.
And our monk talked him down. We illustrated that we mean no harm. Like we put our weapons aside. And I offered the fish.
The fish returns.
The fish that I had caught before, I offered it to them, and that I guess convinced the shaman to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And the shaman could speak common, thankfully, and he explained
like
to
a
us.
broken comment.
Yeah, he explained to us through his fishy, gross voice.
How'd you guys like the voice?
Give
by
us
the
the
way?
fishy voice.
Dear humans, dear personal island, what are you doing here?
What the fuck are you doing?
It's like
Your tongue is too big
the
for your
plan.
mouth.
The plan for it was like I was talking in my throat.
Oh, no.
Was the whole thing.
You know?
It was very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so the shaman is basically talking to us, and he's saying, like, we recognize you. You're from the surface, essentially. Yeah. And he talks about, like, how the humans and the elves banished his people to the underground.
He was really confused about Chris's character, the rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why, you're from the surface? You saw the
Sky.
the blue sky.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck's up with that? You
Mhm.
shouldn't be seeing the blue sky.
You were
should-
supposed to be banished too, just
Yeah.
like us.
And that's some world building stuff from John's D&D world that he's created, where all the animalistic people lived in like their own little shadowy area.
Mhm.
And because of what happened in our Curse of Strahd campaign, that veil went away and allowed for all
Yep.
those people to come back into the rest of society.
This is also around the time, and it's thanks as well to you. You had mentioned how this whole journey has felt like descending into Hades or
Yeah.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just something about the image of us talking to this fish shaman, and like behind him I was imagining the lighthouse just constantly
Circling.
like circling, and it started to
Oh,
really
man.
hit me that this is no longer Kansas. Like we have transcended where we were, and now everything's on the table.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
And so the fish guy, the shaman, is essentially like, we'll let you go to the lighthouse, but we want payment.
There are purple skins who live underneath us, and they demand slaves or something. So one of you has to stay here as a slave. And me being the paladin, I look to Ardell, the money man, and I'm like, Ardell, is the lighthouse this important? And Ardell's like, when we go in there, it could be the greatest discovery of all mankind or whatever. Like that sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, I'll be the slave. I'll do this for the greater
paladin.
good of
Mm-hmm.
of
The paladin
of
that is
magical society.
The deity is named Kiri Jolith, and he represented justice, ending wars, and like unity.
Mm-hmm.
Is his big things. Steps up to make that sacrifice and say, "I'll be the one."
And so we negotiate that he's allowed to come with us to the lighthouse, but when we leave,
I have to stay.
he has to stay. And so the only thing separating this island from the lighthouse's island is this long stone bridge connecting it. And there's like, it rises up out of the water, and so this lighthouse's island is on like a cliffside. And so we get to the bridge, and we get to the
Where did we
third.
talk about lighthouses before?
Huh?
Nothing.
What?
We get to the bridge, and it's the third and final gate. And what was that gate's name?
That gate was pretty simple. Although I scrolled away from it now. It was the Door of Fire.
The Door of Fire. And so
Oh, sorry, the Gate of Fire.
the Gate of
They're
Fire.
all gates.
Well, essentially, this one wasn't too difficult to get through because
It was a riddle. Basically, the riddle. Read the riddle. It was
The
pretty
riddle.
short.
The riddle is a little bit longer.
Oh,
no, that
I
was
liked
the
it.
really long one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
This riddle,
it was
the
essentially
third
like
of four shadows. The third of four shadows.
Jesus.
A warrior wondrously brought him into the world for the use of lords by using two dumb things brightly clashing. Strong though he is, a woman can bind him. He obeys them well, serves them quietly. If a maid and men tend to him duly and feed him fairly, he exalts them in comfort for their joy in life, yet grimly rewards one who lets him grow proudly. You too must feed him dearly if you wish to pass.
Two dumb things, flint and steel.
Yep,
Oh, is that what it was?
that's what it was.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're kind of dumb and a little
Yep.
slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
I recognize that now.
Now,
But you gave us a bit of an out because
did.
there was these like gemstones that were like hanging around the gate, and each of them had like
Elvish runes inside.
elvish runes, and we essentially figured out that they spelled
Spell.
out fire, spark, and heat.
I didn't want to just completely throw it out there for you guys.
hmm
So, like, I replaced K with H, and I had K on. Or I had one missing.
They
and
were
then K was on the
swapped
ground, like-
around, and some of
yeah.
them were broken. Some I think one was missing. But we eventually figured it out from there to put fire in this like stone plinth or basin, and Justin's character had just enough fire belly left
Mm-hmm.
to be able to belch out
From the
I love
potion from
that.
before.
to belch out just enough fire to set the gate of fire ablaze, thus burning the doors but leaving the fire. And so again,
Almost like Hell's Gate.
Oh.
almost again back to the sacrifice. We had to move through the gate, and so in order to get through the fire, we had to get burnt.
Mm-hmm.
And Ardell was the first one to go this time because he was changing. You could just tell he tasted.
Yeah.
Whatever was
this
there.
close, he
Yeah.
was getting frothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so he was the first one to go, and he just barely even winced at the pain.
And so we all get through.
I followed right after. We all followed one by one. Some of us had some creative methods to like not get
To
burned so
mitigate it.
much.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we finally get to the lighthouse,
This is-
which the shaman described as their god.
Yep.
Their god lived in the lighthouse.
Their village was Lumteeb Tom Cobb, and
Lub
they
Teeb.
called Lumteeb
Lubteeb.
Lub
Lubteeb.
Team
Lubteeb Tom Cobb.
Love Team. But he called it that, and he also called the lighthouse that.
Yep. And so we get to the entrance to the lighthouse, and it's kind of pushing us back again. And was there a riddle for that as well?
There was.
Mm-hmm.
This one was a lot smaller. This was the final riddle. The doorway was open.
Foreshadows.
Yeah. Eternal life isn't something you can choose. It is awarded to those with nothing left to lose.
I loved this one. I like simple riddles that make you think, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like there was a moment where I'm just like, as the paladin, I'm like,
Even Ardell, he did it. He pulled
Yeah.
out a dagger.
I was like, nothing left to lose.
It
A corpse has nothing left to lose.
it was that seed that had been planted by the very first gate flowering
Exactly.
again. And it's like, I'm thinking like, what is it?
We
the
killed the
dead
rabbit.
have the dead have what is
What?
it? The dead have nothing left to choose. What is it?
The one from the beginning.
No, this one.
Eternal life isn't something you can choose. It is awarded to those with nothing left to lose.
So I'm thinking like, you get eternal life by dying,
Exactly.
going to the afterlife.
That's absolutely
And I'm
what
like-
I was thinking.
I'm like, it's not something you can choose. Does that mean like one of us has to
Murder.
It has to be an unwilling
Hmm.
kill. Thankfully, it wasn't so grim. We essentially had to remove all of your possessions so that the only thing you had left to lose was your life.
There
But as soon as I
were-
floated that idea, what's his name?
Ardell.
Ardell pulls out a knife and looks at it, and I'm just like, whoa! I'm just thinking out loud here.
Mhm.
And it just like, I feel like it showcased the character that much better because like that last gate, he walked through not even a second thought.
Mhm.
Mhm.
If he wasn't stopped right there, he would have just, sorry if this gets too dark for anybody listening, but he would have probably just started cutting his wrists and like trying to bleed out.
I can imagine
It would have got
the
dark.
paladin like
Mhm.
using the lay on hands on his wrist, like no.
Yeah.
Well, and that's also just like another subconscious thing where it's like, what is happening to our psyches getting this
Yep.
deep underground? It's like, what is happening to us that this guy is willing to just slit his wrists? It's like, what's causing that?
So
And
This like dark
there's this like,
oppression
we've been
pushing
playing
on us.
for 5 hours at this point.
Mhm.
We're reaching the climax of the game. Everybody has now gotten to the lighthouse. The lighthouse has been described. You see the
my first
functionality of
question
it.
as well was, what noise does it make? Because I was imagining like, just as we get closer and closer, this like oppressive like as the lights go.
Oh yeah. Same.
Oh, and something else we forgot to mention was once we got a little closer, the light of the lighthouse
Yep.
didn't just continually revolve, but across this black underground lake, we saw these like spirits.
Yep.
And ghosts like walking
Yeah.
across the surface of the water, and every once in a while when the light would come back around, it would focus on one of them and it would like burn
Burn
them.
away.
Do you remember a spirit that saw a lighthouse?
What?
Anyways, keep going.
And it's like, oh,
This is the fifth shadow.
and it's like, oh, like the lighthouse is like judging these
Yeah.
souls. Or it's like, are they even souls? Like, what is this the afterlife? Is this the gates to Hades?
Is this all it is left?
Would you guys like a small amount of reveal?
No.
No. And we'll explain why. But it's like, maybe there was more to his comment about the lighthouse being their god than we had originally thought. And so Ardell strips
why
off
not? They're just fish people.
Ardell strips off all of his clothes, and he's able to pass through this invisible barrier and runs up to the top of the
A
lighthouse.
rabbit warlock joins
After-
him.
Well, I go in first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had taken off all my clothes beforehand.
Oh, I see. Yes.
And as soon as
Because-
it worked, Ardell immediately ripped everything off.
Yeah.
Continue.
And you made like the important decision to rip off your patron
My talisman. Yeah, the thing that connects me to the Archfey that has given me this power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me, Scott, and Justin are like, no, thank you.
The paladin sees this. I used my like paladin sensibility like I did with the undead before, and saw this gleaming tower of celestial energy in front of me with the lighthouse. And so I'm like, I am not worthy to enter this building.
I just thought there is nothing good at the top of that lighthouse. And we just wait, and Ardell and Chris run up to the top of the lighthouse. Ardell ran faster than him.
Ardell had this potion around his neck.
And he just downs
And
it.
as we were getting closer and closer to the lighthouse,
He kept taking little sips.
he kept taking little sips. And as he downed it and took the whole potion, I'll tell you guys now it was a potion of haste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whatever was up there, he wanted to be the first one to get to it.
Well, he did, and he
Yeah.
gets up there, and he's in the beacon room, and the lighthouse the light is moving, and he's up there, and he finds this potion, and he's like, "Is this what I've come for?" And he drinks the potion,
And he takes just a little sip of it.
and then
He starts like screaming.
Mm-hmm. and his lost arm begins to regenerate all Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm.
It just started. I like the way that I described it the best because it had that weirdness to it, where like it was just Play-Doh getting pushed through the rest of it.
But as he's regenerating his arm, he's still just screaming like a madman. And the light is getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And our rabbit is up there with him. He just reaches. I imagine you like just reach as he downs the potion, and you see this happening, and the light getting brighter and brighter, and you shield your eyes just barely. And the light's getting brighter and brighter, and we're down there. We hear this like resonating, like just building and building, and suddenly a smash as all the lights in the light or the glass in the lighthouse crushes, and we just see Ardell's body
just shoot out,
Well-
over towards the water where all the spirits were at.
Well, I had gotten there after he took the sip and his arm was growing back.
Mhm.
And we make eye contact. And my character's just like, are you sure this is what you want? Because I am a warlock. I've made deals with other entities to gain power. So you don't want to drink that potion, my guy. But are you sure?
Right.
He's like, yes. And he
gives
does
you
that,
that look.
and all that happens.
I didn't even pick up on that.
And
That subtext.
I asked you to roll a Constitution saving throw, and you nat 20'd it,
Yeah.
and it was going to be an extremely high DC. But like in that moment, if you did not beat it, you both shot out of that window.
Nice.
Yeah. And
D&D
so,
writes itself, man.
Dude.
and so, well, yeah, we'll get to why
So-
that's significant.
For the remainder of the end of this story, we have two perspectives, kind of three.
Mm-hmm.
My perspective is I see Ardell fly out, I see him hit the water, and I'm just looking at him. And then he starts to sink. So I make the decision, I'm a paladin, stick up the ass, I jump down into the water and just rush after him. I fucking like nat 20 or something. No.
You got like a 24.
A
on your
25.
athletics. 25.
John's like, I roll a 19 and I get a +6 on my swim check, basically. And I gets a 25, and John's like, 25 is what you needed. So
Yeah.
I surge after him, and I get up to him, and I can see the light. There was a light where he had entered, and I don't know where the light was coming from. Was it just him? Anyway, he had a light, and it was dwindling and going deeper and deeper into the water. And in like, I can imagine in like, I see the light get blocked as the giant fish like comes near him and starts following him, the fish we saw on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And I see like the writings on the wall, and I can't catch up to them and get the fish and get him back up. So I just go back up and return to shore. That's my perspective.
I throw down a rope down this cliff so
Yeah.
that you can climb back up. And me and Justin's character and you are just here at the base of the lighthouse. What's going on up at the top?
At the top of the lighthouse, all the windows have just gotten shattered out, and the light is faint. It went from
like
being,
the brazier is flickering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it went from being the brightest thing in the universe right in front of my face to being able to see everything in the room clearly, and it being like a dying fire. And my character thinks we fucked up something that is not meant to be fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just like, all right. So I get down on my knees and I clasp my chest where my talisman would sit, and I'm like, Seb, which is my
His
patron.
Yep.
I'm like, Seb, I know what I know what I'm thinking I should do. What do you think? And Seb says,
And Seb, he doesn't say anything right away to you, but he starts playing back memories through your head.
mm-hmm.
And then those memories are times where you were mistreated for your race.
Yes.
Lore wise, it kind of goes over how the Therianthrope races, the animal like races, aren't being welcomed very well into the continent. And it, then here's the question, if they're like this, like, is it worth saving whatever problem just happened?
And like you really hit home, like nobody's even gonna know you did this.
Yeah.
And So
just like Regulus. Regulus Black in the cave.
And
And
that was
so-
the last thing that he said was no one's gonna know that you did this, but if you think it's the right thing to do, then it's what you should do.
So
It's your choice to make.
Mandarin gets up, takes a deep breath, and then jumps into the
fire.
brazier, the fire that's there, and then the lighthouse shines incredibly brightly, right, and starts spinning faster than it was before,
Way faster, and like
because now this cuts.
we're on the ground. Justin, Cody, and I are on the ground looking at where like the lighthouse was shining on the ghost before, and it's like like jumping from ghost to ghost, like way more than it was before, and it starts to kind of slow down, but it never fully slows down to the point that it had been going before. So something has occurred. No fucking clue what.
Yep. And so at that point, it's me, Scott, and Justin. We're the only ones alive now. And it's like, well, what do we do now?
And one of them was promised to be a slave.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really kind of reminded me of the end of The Thing,
Mm-hmm.
where McCready and Childs have blown up the station, presumably killed the Thing, maybe not. And they're like, what do we do now? And it's like, well, maybe we just wait and see what happens. And at the end of the session, we were just like, we just kind of agreed, we don't want to know what happens.
I just imagine like it's us staring at the light shining on the ghosts or whatever, and then the camera zooms out.
And just
Yeah.
fades
and
to
leaves
black.
us.
It just leaves us there.
I just imagine you three sitting, your silhouettes on the bridge as these lights are hitting everywhere, and that's just so cinematic to me, and I love it.
But what? And again, it's just like it feels very Lovecraftian, where
Uh-huh.
it's just like there's just so much existential dread and horror and uncertainty and paranoia in that ambiguous ending of it's just like we don't know what happened to them, and it's like how would they even get out? Like the boat goes back to that island. It's like how would we even get out?
Yeah.
And we just kind of made an executive decision where we're like, we don't know what happened.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what
if
happens.
anything happens
Like
with it.
what breadcrumbs might be there.
Mm-hmm.
So
now talking about the foreshadowing, D&D writes itself. It's been said about 10 times. Chris, can you make a counter of how many times we said that today? Just put it in the top left.
okay.
That way, if we have to link anything in the top right, we can.
That's good thinking.
Yeah. So from the very beginning, it's
That's what I want.
a
the
theme
thumbnail
about
to be.
time.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about
That-
time.
that image
How
you
much
were just
life everybody
describing.
has.
The three silhouettes looking at the lighthouse pointing at ghosts.
Following that, you go to the Gate of Sacrifice, where blood pacts were made. You, the monk chose the paladin, and then you saw at the end, the monk was the one pulling the paladin out of the water, who dove for the guy.
I was also the one trying to convince you not to go back as a slave.
Yeah.
I was like, we're gonna find a way to get you out of here.
Yep.
Even though I know in my heart of hearts, there's no way we're
There
getting
is
out
a-
of here.
yeah.
There is no way out of here.
But then the other blood pact that was made was the rabbit and Ardell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you
I'm
see,
starting to shake.
yeah, and you see them. You see time and time again where your character Chris saved him. Like when we went through that path, and then like there were times where he healed you, just for you guys to end up at the top in a bright light,
Staring
two
into
people
each other's
clashing
eyes.
And I was like,
over a dumb thing.
yeah. And then
Two naked boys.
I still made the sacrifice play at the end.
Yep. Like, add this one to the tally again. D&D writes itself, man.
Dude.
And Scott mentioned that it kind of reminded him of The Descent, too. Of just, like, being so deep underground that there's just horrors down here. And there's no way back to the surface. And I actually kind of like it more that we didn't die. but that was still the end of the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the end of the story is implied.
I was talking about how I wanted this episode to get spooky. This episode of the podcast, I was going to talk about like some spooky things, like spooky serial.
We had a
killers.
whole list of things to talk about, and it has been an hour.
I think that's sufficiently spooky. I feel
Dude.
talking about this session.
John, I just want to say, I want to suck your DM cock here. That
Hold on. Oh, I'm already naked.
Add that to the quote book.
I felt so much emotion going through this that it just felt so wrong and like dreadful to, like I said, I felt sick. And I think that's just a testament to your DMing and your intuition on what the Underdark is supposed to feel like.
Also, lighthouses are just spooky.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah.
Fish people.
Like
Underground is just scary.
There's the Lighthouse movie, which is fantastic. Go watch it. There's also that story of it's one of my favorite spooky like sea stories, and I'm not really sure how true it is, but I just like to think about it because I just like to think about it as if it were true because it's so spooky. The one I've talked about this to you guys before, the one where the 3 wikis who are living on this lighthouse island, they are experiencing some storm, and we get this story through the head wiki's journals. And he's talking about some fucking horrible storm that's like destroying the whole island, and everybody on land is like, there was no storm during these dates. We didn't get anything like this. Yeah. And then like the last entry before these journals are discovered, and like the wikis are just gone. The last entry is, the storm is over, the sea is calm, God is over all.
That's
like
creepy.
What in the fuck happened?
Dude.
Well, you guys don't want me to reveal much, but there's 2 things that I will reveal, and it was who inspired me. You inspired the story.
What did I
Not
do?
even intentionally.
Could you explain that? Because you didn't say who.
Sorry. I looked at it, Scott. Listen, I know you guys are listening to a podcast. This is a me and Scott moment right here. Okay.
What did I do?
It started with Ezra.
Ezra, the lighthouse?
Yep. And it started with that session 0.
Yeah.
When he died.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep. You weren't here for this. You weren't in the group yet. And when we first started playing, before Curse of Strahd really took place, I had this session 0 that introduced everyone's major character, so that it felt flush that they would like be in the group. In Ezra's session 0, he died.
I outright died. 3 death saves. I lost.
And it didn't feel right to me to kill him in his session 0 at that moment in time. So I just ad-libbed something at the moment. And then it pulled back, and I've had all this time to write stuff and figure things out.
Like, what Ezra saw in that moment was like... So
he saw a lighthouse on a cliff.
He had been a lighthouse keeper, and I thought that's just what it was.
You thought he was seeing his lighthouse.
Yeah.
But no.
But then there's like a voice that said like, oh, not yet.
Not yet. It's not your time.
What the fuck?
I know.
It was the lighthouse. He saw the lighthouse.
And now you guys see this lighthouse that was like pointing at all these different souls. And like you couldn't tell what. Maybe it was choosing. Maybe it was like balancing, scaling them.
I'm getting chills.
Yeah.
No joke, my eyes are tearing up.
Oh my god.
Like I'm about to cry.
And this is less morbid and like scary and deep. I want to thank you for inspiration, because your battle maps and stuff have been so goddamn on point that I'm like, all right, I don't get to do solo sessions very often. I don't get to do one shots very often. I gotta make this shit count.
But when I do, I make it 3 sessions.
But when I do, I make it 3 sessions. I'm like, I'm gonna make it 1, and I'm gonna make this be one of the coolest fucking puzzles there's ever been.
You absolutely delivered
nailed
tonight.
Dude.
Also, I just want to say this to the audience as well, because this is one of those...
Oh, sorry. I wanted to thank Cody, but that was a me and Cody moment.
Yeah.
I'm not here for the podcast. I'm here for my friends.
This is one of those... this might... I don't care. It might take away from stuff a little bit, but I just think it's funny. It's another one of those funny D&D things. Ezra was my character in John's previous campaign. He talked like this. He said, that's my name. Roy. Roy. And he was a barbarian, just an old gruff barbarian guy, and he kept a lighthouse, and it kind of became
What happened? Are you telling me what happened to that lighthouse?
yeah, it kind of became like a running joke throughout the campaign that I kind of fell in love with, and I think is just canon now. How Ezra's at this lighthouse, and he was so happy. He was so happy in this lighthouse. He was alone, and he just kept to himself, and he had a purpose, and he just did that, and he was good at it. One day, a bunch of fucking adventurers roll up to the lighthouse, and they're like, "This lighthouse is cursed. It's cursed. We need to tear it down. We need to destroy the curse of this lighthouse. Ruin it. It's ruining the land." And Ezra's like, "What are you talking about? This fucking... It's my lighthouse.
It's my home.
This is my home. I live here. You can't just take the lighthouse away." And sure enough, they do their adventure shit and get rid of the cursed lighthouse. But I like the idea. And this Ezra's really jaded. This is part of the reason he's a barbarian, because he's holding on to that anger that he feels for those adventures. But I like the idea that the lighthouse was actually fucking cursed as shit. And he was living in this lighthouse and like waking up to... you guys tell me it's not normal to like wake up to a voice screaming that you cannot hear, with looking at you with eyes that it does not have. That's not normal. It happened to me every day. Right.
So the inspiration there was inspiration in that.
Well, that's great. We had a lot of other stuff we wanted to talk about. Well, we're almost at an hour and 20. That's probably going to
hour 20. Oh,
yeah.
Last episode was an hour 30.
Let's go ahead and park it in the garage, I think.
We'll put a pin. You had some fan theories you want to talk about. We'll put a pin in that for next time. I genuinely am curious to hear them.
Let's just record it right after this.
Yeah, why not?
We're right here.
Let's just do it now.
All right.
We have a 2 hour long episode.
Are we doing? Wait, we're recording our next podcast.
Yep, we're doing it. We're
Chris, cut this.
Okay, well,
let's park it in the
I
garage.
hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed recording it.
I enjoyed experiencing this.
I am so honored.
I love talking about
we
these
just
sessions
spent
after we do
a
this.
whole podcast.
It feels
about
really.
the session I put together.
It feels really cathartic to like let it all out and get it in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's like pissing.
Of course, thank you guys for coming in and hanging out with us and listening. Chris and I will be recording, or we'll be streaming another scary game this Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the name I keep hearing is Visage, but if you guys are interested, we haven't fully decided yet. That is going to be at 8 p.m. on Friday night, Eastern Standard Time.
EST.
I know times.
Yep.
I don't know times.
What's the date? 22nd?
21st.
21st.
Oh.
No. 20th.
Is it? Let me look
Because
right
29th is
let me just make sure.
Saturday? No. 28th. 21st. We're right.
It will be the
21st.
21st.
yeah.
It will be the 21st. Feel free to join in if you guys would like. I mean, I think the last one went really well, and I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I know you didn't think it went well, but it was a great time.
No, it
Madison
went
was a lot of
well.
fun.
I didn't like it.
I love all the
It's a scary
participation.
game.
And no, like honestly, seeing you guys there, like it's extremely encouraging.
Oh, yeah.
And we're glad to have you guys. So that's my goodbye. How about you guys top that?
Bye.
See ya.
Goodbye.